Hello everybody. For this video, it's just me because things happened in Rita's life right now. I'm not gonna go into details, but it was awful. Um, and Beatrice is a bit busy at the moment, so for this one, it's just me, and we have our guest, Kieran. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Kieran, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Everybody.
So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your opinions on this whole Marilyn Manson thing, and why you think he's innocent?
Yeah, sure. I remember when I was probably 15 years old, I was at my friend's house, and we were sort of quite young. I don't know, we probably had access to his parents' alcohol cupboard or something, and we were just kind of going wild as 15-year-olds would. And this video came onto his TV, which was the Tainted Love video by Marilyn Manson. And
cool.
yeah. And I looked at it and I was fascinated by it. And then my friend said, oh, I asked him, who's that? And then my friend said, oh, that's Marilyn Manson. Oh, you'll probably really like him. So that I remember that very clearly, that he knew that there's something in me that would be attracted to that person.
Yeah.
And then I just watched the video and I was just like, there's something in how he's kind of harnessing whatever it is, male sexuality, music, that just, I'd never seen that anywhere else. And it was something really kind of unique. And I just felt, when I was watching it, I felt kind of attracted to it, but more in the sense that I could see myself in him. So anyway, that was the moment that I was first introduced to him. And then obviously I went home and then listened to his music. And I was like, Jesus, this is, I'm so, like, you know, when you find something like an artist or something that says something maybe that you've been thinking for a long time, and you're not sure how to formulate it to a solid kind of way of saying something, and then they just say it, and it's like, God, exactly. I've been looking for that for ages. I didn't realize this is what I was looking for. So yes, that was my introduction to Marilyn Manson, and then, you know, I bought all his CDs and listened to that, and then ever since then, I'm 24 now, so you know, since the age of 15, I've sort of developed this ever intensifying appreciation of what Marilyn Manson is, which is, the thing is with Marilyn Manson is, if I remember once I was going to visit family, I was catching the train, and then I met this person on the train kind of spontaneously. I never met them before, and we were talking about music, and he asked me, you know, what was my favorite musician, and I said Marilyn Manson, and they said, oh yeah, blood, death and gore and all of that. And, you know, my response at the time wasn't necessarily very, you know, I just sort of brushed over it. But essentially, the reality is that Marilyn Manson is not really about that. Like the concept of Marilyn Manson is quite philosophical. It's quite a philosophical perspective.
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson is exactly. It's kind of a way of looking at human experience. So if you, as I'm sure you know, you look at what Marilyn Manson is in terms of where the name comes from.
Yeah.
I might be I don't know if I can tell it the way Marilyn Manson tells it, but essentially, you know, Marilyn Manson looks at can't remember what the magazine was, but there's a very famous magazine, maybe Times magazine, and you have on it posted, you have, I think it was in the year 1969, which is when he was born. You have Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson, who are incredibly different characters. Obviously, like Charles Manson, who's essentially at the time a depiction of kind of maybe like deep masculine evil, for example, and then in terms of how he was perceived, and then you have Marilyn Monroe, which was sort of like embodying this sort of divine feminine beauty. And so you have these clear opposites and the contrast, but they were both put on the same level on the magazines of the same level of fascination to the audience, and that is essentially the level of celebrity. And so you can be the sort of darkest evil or the brightest beauty, but that is interesting enough to the human nature that they're both put on the same pedestal in terms of celebrity. So it's like fame and infamy, right? And so Marilyn Manson's like abracadabra, as he puts it, Marilyn Manson, combining those two things together. And essentially it's a commentary on human nature, which is divine contrast. This potential for all this darkness and all this beauty together in one being. And that's essentially what the human being is a combination of these experiences. And so, that's the statement essentially of Marilyn Manson. And then obviously he creates all this music from that. And I mean, it's quite deep essentially. It's not about blood, death and gore really, unless it's from a spiritual perspective. So
he's trying to get a message out there, so
for sure
it's more deep than some people would probably like to think it is. So
absolutely, as many things are, sometimes you just got something in a certain way and it connects with you. So I mean, you could play many Marilyn Manson songs and you can't necessarily expect someone to understand what's being said or see that in the way that it was intended, which is fair. But ultimately it's describing a human experience. Anyway, so that was my experience of being introduced to him and my perspective on what he is, what the idea is of Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
How about you? Because you said that your parents kind of knew about Marilyn Manson before you. Did you want to see what your experience was? I don't
know. Well, yeah, they were fans since I can't remember exactly, but I think around the time Mechanical Animals or Antichrist Superstar, something like that, when he was like starting to skyrocket in fame. So, and I wasn't born until 2000, so and at first when I was like 7, about to turn 8, I vividly remember my mom wearing the Rape of the World Tour t-shirt when he had just been in Stockholm like a week ago, and I started crying because I thought he was scary. But like any child has the children has the wildest imaginations. So I probably imagined that he was a horrible person, but then with when I was 10, 9, something, I listened to his music and I was like, yeah, I actually like this.
Cool.
And I never really thought about any messages until I was 14, because I genuinely just liked his songs, and I still do. Because
sound.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, and he's very intelligent. I gotta say that he's very intelligent.
Sure.
So, what are your thoughts about the whole thing that's been going on since Evan came out with his allegations?
Well, so I mean, we spoke about this a bit earlier, but
Yeah.
you know, essentially, I mean, I don't know if this is just how I am interested in the artist that I'm interested in, you know, like as in there's, you know, people who produce music, and if
Yeah.
I'm really interested in somebody musically through their lyrics, or usually it's the whole package, the
Yeah.
you know, kind of attention to instruments, kind of synchronizing with the sound, whatever it is. If I have a fascination with an artist, usually that will be to the degree where I want to know as much about them as I possibly can.
Yeah.
So,
Same.
you know, yeah, exactly. So I'm interested in, you know, who are the people that my favorite artist chooses to go out with, you know, and like who are the partners that they choose to spend their time with, who are their friends, you know, what do they have to say about anything I can find, you know. I want to know as much about them as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the connection to them is not just about the music. It's I'm interested in who you are because you are able to create something artistically that connected with me in such a way that it affects me. That you must be interesting, you know, as a person. So I've been following Marilyn Manson in many ways for a long time, throughout his relationship with Evan Rachel Wood, which is where essentially all of this kind of thing can be backtracked to. There's lots of photographs of them together, and you know, he created an album that was very much inspired by his relationship with her. He's been in interviews talking about his relationship with her. She's been in loads of interviews talking about her relationship with him. You know, and she's actually got quite a lot of stuff where she's talking about him, obviously in an incredibly positive way, you know, where it's like, oh, these people are really in love with each other, you know. And even afterwards, even after the not being together, there's so much stuff out there where it's like, you know, if you exclude anything that's happened recently, just look at that, you could see, oh, here was a really deep relationship that happened. Even though it ended, they both still understand what that was and that was meaningful.
I wouldn't date the man for 3 years, and he wasn't very charming and sweet.
Hollyscoop.com exclusive.
Rumor has it you're a single lady.
Is that the rumor?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Confirm, deny. We got any eye on the prize?
Well, I mean, right now, you know, we've just decided to take some time apart, and you know, he's doing an album right now, and I've got a film, you know, to promote, and that I'm really proud of. So, you know, it's not the nasty thing everybody thinks, you know. So I'm just kind of enjoying being on my own for a little bit, and it's a positive thing. It's good.
So there is potential, perhaps, in the future.
Who knows? You know, it's all about work right now. That's the scoop from Holly Scoop.
She reportedly tells the magazine, I met somebody that promised freedom and expression and no judgment, and I was craving danger and excitement. She was just 19 years old at the time and shared an 18-year difference with the popular Gothic singer. She tells Rolling Stone, most teenagers are searching for identity, and I was thrown into a situation where I was supposed to have that already figured out. Then you're demonized for figuring it out and getting messy. People would call me a whore when I walked down the street, and you can't not be hurt by that. Wood has since split up from Manson, but told The Edit in 2015, I appreciate everything he taught me. I just don't think we were right for each other.
Special. And I guess, you know, well, I guess since then also there has been things where they have also expressed, it's turned into a bitterness where, you know, that they have both expressed negative things about parts of that experience in the end. But it's which is kind of understandable. It's like,
Yeah.
you go through a painful experience, you're going to reflect on that in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of recently, well, it's hard trying to pinpoint where this all started, because if you look back and you have Evan Rachel Wood doing her testimony. Sorry, I can't say the word.
Yeah.
Testifying it to the the whatever she's testifying to, I don't know, but about being
In
being
Congress.
abusive relationship. Yes, yeah. Essentially, that was related to the Phoenix Act, which she is
Mm.
one of the main creators of. Maybe we could talk about some. But I watched that a long time ago, and I sort of was fascinated by it. Now I watch it again after everything that's happened.
Yeah.
When I look at how she is expressing herself, comparing it to the other women who have been part of this, I think it's kind of easier to see that there's something unusually disingenuous coming out of
Yeah.
how she's communicating. Because I've watched people talk about use that they've been through, and
Me too.
yeah, and talking like really openly, or whatever the situation is, about experiences they've been through. And there have been women who have been like, wow, I really feel for you, and how you're coming across. I mean, anyone could be lying at a given time, you just don't know. But but I've watched a lot of videos of women kind of reflecting on that, and it's like, when you compare these people to this, it's so obvious that there is something else going on with how you're expressing yourself, that it's at least needs investigating. It's just there's something off about it. So but even so, character aside, it's easy to come across as it's you can't rely only on coming across. I don't know how it is, but when you look at the actual situation and the evidence provided and the stories that they tell, it's kind of like, how many times can you tell different stories about the same event, or have a timeline that doesn't match up, or provide photographic evidence that is then proved as being false, in the case of Ashley Esme, before it's like, I don't actually trust you anymore. So if you look at Esme providing photos of the aftermath of the abuse that she went through, with the rope marks, and then we claim as being something else, and then it's like, actually that's not what that would look like. And then you look at Ashley Morgan Smithline showing photos of something that essentially she got from Pinterest, right, and then
Love
and
bites
on,
or cookies, whatever.
wherever she got it from, and it's not her, which then gets revealed. Whatever it is, it's not her. It's not a picture of her, and it's like leading on to suggesting, oh, this is what happened, and it's not her. That it only takes one thing that is so obviously disprovable to throw your trust in somebody, out the window, essentially, where you really have to look at them with more scrutiny than you would a fresh case.
Right. So when this whole thing began, I was like, I can't say I was surprised, because I've heard things like he's abusive since 2018, when Evan started going to the Congress. So I wasn't surprised, but at the same time, I was like, okay, well, maybe it did happen.
Yeah.
But as time went on, they all started to like contradict themselves, and there's plenty of accounts on Instagram that has proved these women that they're liars. I was
Thank
like,
God.
okay, well,
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it,
Um,
it's like there's a very select number of people who have seriously made an
Yeah.
impact. Your page included, like you're one of the main players. You know, really important. Anyway, sorry, Karen.
Yeah. No, it's okay. So yeah, I guess you could say I saw through it kind of like almost immediately. Because at first I did keep an open mind,
Yeah,
because you never know what happened behind closed doors. It's
sure.
we don't know them in person, but
Yeah.
then Colonel started doing these videos about Manson, which are really thoughtful and insightful, and she has the IQ of like Einstein, pretty much. She's very smart,
Yes.
very intelligent.
Mhm.
So her videos really had me thinking, and so yeah, just from the get-go, almost I thought it was crap.
Yeah. It doesn't match up to.
No.
Ironically, like if you say it doesn't match up to his character, there's people who observe Marilyn Manson as the art project who are like, oh, are you sure? But then if you look at essentially Brian, you know, you start to kind of get the picture of that, like, you know, the man is the romantic sort of sweet guy, you know, which seems a strange thing to say, you know, for a lot of people would see that as strange, but you know, the art project of Marilyn Manson is not necessarily a way to look at him, even though it is part of him. It is a huge part, you know, and you know, he wouldn't be who he is even in his personal life without having gone through that experience. You know, the way I look at it is like, and I think probably many people, many famous artists have this as well, where you know, you have incredibly shy people in their life who have so much to say or something they really want to put out there, and it's a weird thing where, you know, the only way they can do that is to do something that is the opposite of what a shy person would do. You know, it's like, now I'm on stage singing, harnessing my, you know, or accessing my sexuality in a certain way, in this artistic way, to the world, which is a shock to anyone who knows me. But that's how it has to happen, you know, to get that out of you. So
and I think that a lot of people did describe Manson as more of like a shy person. So I think that's perfectly logical.
Yeah. If you look at the people who went out with him, not Esme, Ashley, if you can even call it a relationship, Evan, and obviously his I think his assistant. There's only 4, isn't there? There's in terms of the lawsuits, there's only 4.
Yeah, I mean, there are probably more accusers, but they're like the main ones. So
those are the people pushing forward with the narrative of so in terms of to the point of trying to essentially receive a paycheck through the law system, civil law system. But if you look at everyone else who talks about their experience of Marilyn Manson, even if they went out with him for a bit, didn't work out, people who are not involved with the lawsuits, their depiction of him is it's the complete opposite of this monstrosity that is depicted.
Yeah.
And picked up by the media, unfortunately. I mean, that's the real thing, isn't it? You know, if you're just reading into the news, you don't really care about Marilyn Manson as a person. You're just going to read the Rolling Stone article. And then that goes around that is essentially it's fascination with somebody doing a bad thing Doesn't matter
Yeah.
who it is. If suddenly, and we're seeing this, I think, with I don't know if it was you who said that you worry about talking about Johnny Depp and Amber or Michael Jackson because you've got a lot to say about it. But
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, I've been a fan for basically my whole life because of my mom. So
oh, that's cool.
I gotta. But yeah, and talk about Michael Jackson. He did once say, just because you read it in a magazine or see it on a TV screen, don't make it factual.
He did. Tabloid Junkie, great song.
Yeah. I agree. But
I'm
it's
a big
scary how that song is still relevant to this day.
I think a lot of Michael Jackson's words are relevant. I think sometimes you get those artists that come along and they say things that are relevant at the time. Sometimes they become more relevant in the future.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
great, but it's also scary because we haven't gotten anywhere, basically.
Yes, it's complicated. It's a mixture because recently you had Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson now nominated for the Grammy Award, which is a great thing just because it's like an approach to it, which is whatever happens in your personal life, this is about the art. This is about creation. Even if we don't know what happened there, this is about more than a moral perspective, artwork. Yeah. Now, obviously, a recent thing happened where the house was raided, which is to be expected as part of the investigation around that. Then all of a sudden it becomes, oh, now there's a very clear criminal potential in terms of, you know, this is someone being investigated seriously, that maybe the rules changed and they had to take back the Grammy nomination. Yeah. Which is probably a policy thing, essentially. You know, which I can understand, but when I first saw that Grammy thing, it was like this is where we really need to go, is towards that direction of the idea that our idea of what's, you know, it's a hard thing to describe, but you know, art just be like, if you think about like history, you have the artists who create things and put them in the world, put things in the world that affect the culture in a very serious way. And a lot of these people are incredibly complicated people, you know, and I'm not saying, you know, it's a reason to kind of, you know, excuse abuse or anything like that, but you know, it's how many complicated and strange or odd or unusual people that create incredible things is it going to take for Western culture, I guess, to accept that sometimes beautiful things come from strange places, and you know, your idea of what's right and wrong is not necessarily, you know, if you implement that in the artistic world, you're just going to squash deepness. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. It's a bit strange that people and the word ceremonies are praising Cardi B, because she did admit to essentially drugging guys and doing God knows what with them. And I have no problem with her music whatsoever. It's just that thing that I have a problem with, that she did. And people were still sort of, I guess you could say, celebrating her, even though she admitted to doing that. whereas
So-
Manson is proven to be innocent.
Yeah.
You know, so,
What do you
But
think is, what's the difference between them that makes that happen? Because it's like if you have a certain person who does one thing and they're completely shut down for it, and then a certain person who does a worse thing, but somehow they're celebrated.
yeah,
What is
I mean,
that distinction that makes that happen? I don't know.
yeah, it makes no sense to me. I mean, well, obviously Manson's house was raided, which is in the worst way possible because he wasn't even home. He was on a honeymoon in Berlin. But
Yes, yeah.
I don't think they're gonna find anything. So,
Yeah,
but I guess I can understand why they removed him for policy reasons. But it also does contribute to cancel culture, if you ask me. So,
like he obviously, what would be really great is if just for this purpose, because obviously he had kind of 2 technical nominations, wasn't it? It was for the participation in songwriter for the song, I think. No.
I
He had
think
some kind of collaboration with that song specifically. Jail Part 2.
It was for Jail Part 2. Yeah.
He had vocals on it.
Yeah.
Versus if the album won, he's still credited in that part of it.
Which would be great.
It would still be a way around that, But we'll see. Obviously, what would be great is if they take those hard drives, look on it, and they're like, there's nothing here, really. That really is any meaning to this. So,
I mean, them raiding their home it's gonna be a waste of time.
I wonder what happened first, because obviously, Lindsay Warner was Lindsay Usage is now seems to be filtering photos through Colonel Kurtz, which is great. I think it's a great way of doing it, because I think when it comes to like legality reasons with lawsuits ongoing, I think it's best to not contribute to social media literally. I think there's maybe some legal thing there, so you can still kind of filter your input through somebody else. I don't know whether they kind of announced, "Oh, we're on our honeymoon," and then the LAPD were like, "Okay, great, now let's go," so we don't have to have a confrontation with anyone. But I'm not sure what came first. But
I don't know.
I hope they're okay. I hope they're on their honeymoon, still having a good time.
Yeah, I hope so too, despite the situation.
Yeah.
Why do you think he's innocent?
Well, like I said, I'm open to any potential outcome based on evidence, whatever. But in terms of, because obviously, like we discussed, we can only talk about it from an external perspective. We don't know Marilyn Manson. We don't know Evan, any of the women personally. We don't know what happened. And that's the same for any human situation.
Yeah.
If you're not there, you're not there for the experience. So you can only speculate. So essentially, most, apart from, if you look at a situation between 2 people, anything beyond those 2 people is speculation. And that's just the nature of looking at things. Like I said, just because I love Marilyn Manson, his artwork, his music, him as a person, and I truly feel like I feel like he feels like a friend to me in terms of I would love to be around him just as a person. I feel like we'd connect in a way that was meaningful. Aside from that, still open to anything, anyone can do a bad thing, even if they're a beautiful person still. You know, it's not
absolutely.
It's not cut and dry in terms of the you know, you're a bad person or you're a good person. There's just human experience. So, and I think it's important to say first, because, you know, I want to get across that I'm not just blindly biased towards the people that I like, and I'm open to anything being revealed. But based on how Evan has portrayed herself, the speeches that she's done, how Esme very, very clearly Ashley Morgan Smith line. I mean, this is the thing. Ashley Morgan Smith line is a weak link in that plan. Do you know what I mean? It is like, okay, we've got this plan, this organized plan to take down Marilyn Manson, you know, and it's like, okay, Esme, Ashley Walters, and Evan Rachel Wood, they have this like complex plan. They're going to do these really serious acting things, and then Ashley comes along and it's like, oh, sorry guys, I fucked it up because I was unable to act it out, and I revealed to the world I have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. You know, like when she did that interview, what was it? The People interview. Oh, fucking everyone. The View interview is the one that sticks to mind the most, where she's talking about, you know, she's saying like, oh, you know, and I was treated like, you know, like an animal that and she's trying to think of the thing to say, and essentially she's describing an abstract concept of being treated like an animal based on something that's real. And so her mind just cannot quite figure out how to describe this thing that is an abstract concept based on something that's not even real. And then she just gets choked up, and it's almost like the universe literally grabbing her throat and saying, "You're lying." You know, it just catches
yeah.
You know, and then she has no way to recover from that apart from look at the camera like some weird evil look that she gives. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh my god, you know.
Degraded. I was treated like a an animal that.
It's tragic, and you know, it even makes me feel empathy for her to the point where it's like, you are exposing yourself to the world. Somebody who's willing to sacrifice this man's whole identity to the world just for some money.
Yeah, right.
What does that say about you as a person?
Like, she had that, I guess you could say death stare or empty stare.
Oh yeah. I think I don't know whether that's, you know, following, because I don't think, if you just look at human behavior, I don't think that she intended to get to the point where she didn't know what to say. And I think that the only way her brain could think of recovering from the fact that she didn't know what to say was to play on the idea that the reason why I don't know what to say is because I'm traumatized by talking about it. And so it comes, I think sometimes, you know, when you look at lying, dishonesty, it's very much symbolized by the snake. And I feel like that kind of came out in her, where she looks at the camera in a way that, ironically, look at Marilyn Manson, right? And obviously he has a, you know, obviously the concept of Marilyn Manson is dark and it's shocking. But what actually made me feel uncomfortable, beyond all of that, is Ashley Morgan Smith trying to look at the camera. I was like, well, now that's really dark, you know. She looks like at you, like it's almost as if she's admitting, you know, I'm lying to you, you know. But I mean, I'm not going to talk about, like, you know, whether she was under the influence of anything at that point in time or anything like that, which people say, you know, which maybe, I don't know, but even so, which would make it easier for you to be unaware of how you come across, you know, and do things that kind of come across in a strange way. I mean, I am drinking a vodka and tonic with lime right now to ease my nuts, but, but you know, I'm not lying, so that's the difference. But no, I just yeah, that interview was interesting, and obviously when you look at the View, it's the View, yeah. But there's, essentially it doesn't matter which interview it is. There are kind of it's a narrative that's decided beforehand with a lot of people, where even if as the interviewer you think things about what's going on, your job a lot of the time, unless you're an independent interviewer, for these organizations, the job is essentially to have a certain perspective. And so even if you disagreed with what was being said, you have to sort of falsely form a narrative, which personally I could not do. I would hate that job. It'd be so horrible to see reason and kind of pretend to be more stupid than you are. But there was a one of the people on there who then posed the opposite narrative, which I think is probably written into the script, which is of the idea of like, oh, so why did you keep coming back and all of this? And I feel like there might have actually been something even more in her, which was not just her job as an interviewer, but I feel like you could kind of tell in the interviewer that she also was like, I don't know if you're coming across very genuine.
So, Ashley, I understand that you traveled to Asia for modeling jobs throughout this relationship, but you say that you kept coming back to him when you would return to the United States. So help us understand why you would keep going back, and what made you finally leave him, in fact.
As a genuine person. So it was a very interesting interview.
And I noticed this just recently, but when Whoopi started this whole thing with reading out that Ashley had filed a lawsuit against him, she was like, what the fuck? So she did buy into this crap right off the bat. But she's an interviewer, she has to do her job. What are you gonna do?
You're about to hear disturbing allegations that are not for young ears. So if you have young children in the room, please put them out of the room, let them go do something else. So far, at least 17 women are reported to have made abuse claims against rock star Marilyn Manson. And yesterday, model Ashley Morgan Smithline filed a lawsuit alleging that he put her through living hell of physical, emotional, and sexual torture. She joins us now.
It's such an interesting thing, isn't it? You've got multiple levels of facade going on in everyone. Every reason, just makes for an uncomfortable experience.
Absolutely. And also there's Ashley's body language, which is very important because it's very telling.
Yeah,
I read somewhere that dryness happens a lot when you're lying, whether it's your mouth, your throat, or your eyes.
Yeah.
So excessive staring. So she did a lot of, I guess you could say, lip compressions and swallowing hard. And she also stared like this the whole time.
Yeah, I know.
Like she would be high on something. And she also did a lot of shrugs and a lot of stammering.
That's right.
All that. It's telling.
Very, very. I've seen videos of body language, people who are interested in body language and sort of on a scientific level analyzing it, and it's like, that's a perfect video if you want to really look at kind of how you're trying to completely fabricate something under pressure. That's what it looks like. So because obviously when you look at the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case, there are a lot of people, and I don't know how many people realize that Johnny Depp and Marilyn Manson are really good friends. Really,
they're like brothers.
Yeah, like literally like the best. Which if you look at that, if you are interested in Johnny Depp and you're interested in Marilyn Manson, then you can very clearly understand, oh, I can see why you're friends. But, you know, Johnny Depp's like, you know, this beautiful man. He's been in all these films, and everyone sees him as this sort of almost like a sex god sort of character. So, you know, it's a lot easier for people to identify and sort of with him and be more willing to kind of really look at the main narrative of the abuse situation between him and Amber, and really kind of question what's going on, because you know that's what it takes essentially, is having an interest in somebody, you know. So with Marilyn Manson, there's loads of people who either don't disregarded what he is, or see him as this evil thing, or just some like rock star that's about blood and gore, you know, whatever. And so it's very easy to be like, I'm not going to look into that any further. I'm just going to believe the main narrative. Whereas when you look at Johnny Depp's case, it's much more likely that people will be interested in trying to find out what actually happened, because they're interested in him. And so, I mean, I think the way it's going, I think even though there's obviously ups and downs and public perception and whatever, I feel like in the end, the true narrative will prevail, based on the evidence, based through the law, and these two people, Marilyn Manson, Johnny Depp, willing to fight this to the end in terms of just getting to that point where it's like, this is not what's happening. We are not these evil characters in real life that you have painted us to be. And I think that even though it's horrible what they've been through, I think it's actually possibly will serve as a necessary experience in human history that these men have gone through, to show that this is what the ugly side of this allegation world is. This idea that you can just accuse people of things and then you get cancelled, that you're no longer able to participate in all of these exciting artistic things because of somebody's, as Johnny Depp puts it, polluted air. He said, you know, this is a consequence of essentially somebody's polluted air. They have said something, and now this whole thing has happened to these men, which is not necessarily based on anything real. And the thing is it's obviously there's all of these systems that you go through to try out whether the polluted air actually is genuine. And they're going through that now, and it takes a long time. But in the end, I think, and the way it's looking, it's going to turn out to be that these people lied about that. And and I'm, you know, my approach to people in general is I don't want to see people punished as little. I want to see people punished as little as possible. You know,
same.
and I think that, you know, when you flip it the other way around, it's not like I want to see these women punished, like put in prison or have fines against them or anything like that. I think just the public acknowledgement of, you lied about this, you were willing to sacrifice these men, the identity of these men to the world for money. That acknowledgement enough is enough of a punishment. It's sort of like a form of public shaming that's all it takes, and then we move on. You know, I don't think that prison or fines or anything is necessary. I just think, you know, looking at human behavior, what is a valuable way of being, that's the point. You know, and maybe, I mean, I hope that the Amber Heard situation, Evan Rachel Wood, everyone related to that, the situation will be that people won't try this shit again, and they'll just be like, okay, if we have a serious issue, we're going to deal with it. And that will play itself out. Otherwise, we're not going to try and latch on to the media's love of the victim and oppressor narrative. try and get some money, some bullshit thing that didn't happen. And in the end, Marilyn Manson and Michael Jackson, Marilyn Manson and Depp might be a key player in that process of overcoming by going through their shit. So maybe it's necessary, but I hope it has a positive impact on essentially human history, because this is a social thing, you know, where it's like, what is our relationship to abuse, to allegation, to relationships, money, power, you know, we're essentially looking at how do we tie these things together, and what is the limitation of this, and what is reasonable, what is unreasonable, and you know, we're just sort of, it's essentially a question that has been asked by these women, and now we're expecting the answer, you know, and it's very painful, but maybe it had to happen this way. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. But and even though I can agree on people being punished as little as possible, these women are lying under oath, technically.
Yeah.
So sooner or later they will get caught, and they will either face, I think it was 5 years in prison, or a few $1,000 in fines and probation, or maybe both. So, and same with Amber Heard, unless she's bribing people, you know, which is also illegal.
Yes, it is a tragedy. Whatever happens, it is a tragic event. But yeah, it's it's so complicated, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a human complication.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this whole thing is just crap, and I'm gonna be honest and say that Amber has a connection with this because she is, or was, I don't know, best friends with Evan Rachel Wood, which is very strange because Evan was abused, right? So why be friends with an abuser? To me, it doesn't make any sense, at least.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, like you said, or like we both say, you know, we're open. You know, everything is speculation, but you know, when you look at the situation, it's like you've got Johnny Depp, Marilyn Manson, best friends.
Yeah.
The situation with Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, the contentious situation for a long time with Amber Heard, Marilyn Manson. It's like, you know, it would make sense that, you know, obviously while Marilyn Manson and Johnny Depp are obviously still friends, because their friendship is based on something deeper than this bullshit, you know. They haven't necessarily colluded to fight against something. They're just fighting what's happening, or trying to not even fighting. Well, I guess Johnny Depp is, but it's kind of like, you know, there's a very clear thing between them, which is the littlest action as possible is what's best to go with this. And then you've got Amber Heard and Evan Rachel Wood, where there's very clearly this weird connected narrative going on, where it's like, you know, because I remember the Evan Rachel Wood thing where she posted saying, pardon me, this abuser that I've talked about for years is Brian Hewell, aka Marilyn Manson, and it kind of all came off the back of the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing going kind of downhill backwards towards. Oh, actually, I'm not sure Amber Heard is that innocent in this situation, and then it's kind of like a constant battle of we need to put a new thing out to come off the back of this questioning of what's going on, so that we don't have too much inspection on us, you know. So Yeah. So it's all very. I'm sure there's many complicated links between it all that we don't understand. But you know, from an external perspective, it seems that it would be kind of foolish to ignore that there is definitely collaboration there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Manson was supposed to go and testify against Amber Heard. And I don't know how many years ago, but I think it was just 2, 3, 4 years ago, maybe. But she didn't want him to. And I wonder why.
Yeah.
Evan.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's that.
You have the situation now with Amber specifically. Elon Musk and James Franco are involved now, aren't they? As testifiers in the situation. And before, it really seemed like the opposite, as if they'd have something to say that was pro Amber. And now, since everything's happened, it seems more like the other way. Now it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Yeah, and since we're talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, I'm glad Johnny is standing up for himself.
Yeah.
Finally, I mean, I can understand it took him years, but it makes me happy.
That's great. He was invited to the that film festival. I think that was really important.
Yeah.
And he was just sat down, talking very honestly, and I think Johnny Depp, you know, at this point in his life, he can take a long time to say things, but I think that's because he's very careful with what he says.
Yeah.
I think he wants to just say exactly what he means, and you know, people who just talk can say all kinds of things, and things slip out, and the media can just take bits and manipulate it.
Yeah.
You know, and I actually think Marilyn Manson and Johnny Depp are very aware of that. That essentially the media is ready to take a snippet of what you say to present it to the world in a way that presents you in the way that they want to. And so you have to talk and interact with media in a certain way that, not that it's disingenuous, but you just have to be careful with the language that you use so that you don't leave them any opportunity to cut you short or soundbite you. You know, you have to be very careful with the words you choose, and that's just the state of things now, you know. So I think that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was an important part of this, was his place in that film festival. I mean, Marilyn Manson's been very, very quiet, which again I respect that. I think that's a good approach, is that just filter the least amount of information that you have to, in order to you know, be there when you need to.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I also think that it's a great thing that he's staying silent, you know. Of course, he started to show his face in public again, which I think is great.
Yeah.
It's a step. I think that's a step forward to you know, him proving these idiots wrong.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, I'd rather have him be silent than, you know, fall for their whatever crap they're pulling out of their ass, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And also because he's careful, because he is very smart and very, very intelligent.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would be a great idea of him to like speak, I mean, constantly speak about it, like a certain Evan Rachel Wood does.
And you know, I don't know whether it's real of her that she's doing this or not, but the stuff that she shares on her social media is a constant thing of, it's a weird thing. It's like a lot of it is a very obvious sense of victimhood, you know, which
Yeah.
we all feel things around that, but
Yeah.
there's a certain point where it's like there's certain things where you can express where it's like, actually maybe that's your responsibility to deal with these things yourself, and you know, how much of your misery in relationships can you place on somebody else before you start to realize maybe it's you, you know, maybe there's some things you have to deal with, you know, and it's just this relentless sense of victimhood and blame and pointing the blame, and this is how you should be to make me feel better. And it's just like, you're not necessarily presenting yourself as a particularly stable individual.
Yeah.
So, you know, it doesn't necessarily help our case.
Yeah.
That's my
I
personal
agree.
assessment of
And
on the internet.
Sadly, that is, I guess you could say that's how narcissists work, because they point their blame, they blame their faults on somebody else.
I think so. I think so. I mean, I saw her recently. She was like posting this anti-Manson stuff, and then she was like, literally straight after that, she was saying like, you know, the evil that you see in others is really a reflection of the evil you see in yourself. And it's like, how can you not see that? You just said that. You know, like you're just saying that about yourself. You know, you're
I mean,
your own struggles as if it's not you. Anyway.
That's funny.
Yeah.
She's just exposing herself at this point. I think everybody else is also, even though Esme and Ashley Walters has been a bit more quiet.
They're kind of low key, aren't they? Yeah.
Even though Esme has done signing recently, live stream on Instagram, and all these pictures cost like $50 each. So to me, it seems like she's in desperate need of money, attention, fame. What do I know?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing you kind of see with all of them. Really, is this. Again, I feel bad because like, the thing is, I ultimately feel empathy for the people who end up behaving in such a way that is so despicable. Whatever reason, it all comes from insecurity, really, if you look at it. But you know, it is quite obvious that specifically with, I think Evan, Esme and Ashley Morgan Smithline. It seems quite obvious where it's like, you know, you're really trying hard to have the world focus on you in some way that is glorious, you know, and it is essentially the ugly side of attention seeking when combined with fame, and it's coming out in this very strange way. And again, I really, you know, I hate to make people feel bad, you know, when I look at Ashley Morgan Smithline, I don't see someone where I'm like, oh yeah, fuck you. Look, obviously, despite the feelings I feel, where it's like this is some really corrupt things you're doing. Ultimately, I'm just like, I just want to hold you here and say, like, are you sure this is what's really meaningful to you? You know, like, there's something more to life than this. You know, you don't have to do this for this man. You don't have to present yourself in this way. You can find another way to create joy in the world, you know, and it's the same with all of them, you know. You know, it's just, there are other ways of being an important person. You don't have to take somebody down, whether it's true or a lie. You don't have to take somebody down in order to make yourself somebody that has impact, you know. There are other ways, better ways, for sure.
And I think that, especially for Ashley, she did, Morgan, she did this because she wanted to get attention from from the media.
Mm.
Because if you now this is I'm just observing her social media accounts as I'm saying this, but if you look into them and the amount of likes she gets, anything anti-Manson gets, I think, anywhere between like 300 and thousands of likes, whereas her modeling pictures gets like maximum 100 likes.
Yeah.
So
Outrage sells, scandal sells.
yeah.
That's the nature.
Yeah, bad
the
press
nature of the media. It goes all the way back to Johnny Depp. It goes all the way back to Michael Jackson. You know.
Yeah,
It's the same thing. Is that
Mm.
as one of Marilyn Manson's recent lines in his song? You're as famous as your pain, victim
Yeah.
chic.
You're as famous as your pain, victim is chic. Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
by the way, We Are Chaos. What a fucking great album. When I heard that,
Yeah, I agree.
honestly, that's incredible. Lyrically, I thought that was amazing. You know, so many lyrics on that where I was just listening to it and I was like,
I think that album is like the album that I can relate the most to, if I'm gonna be honest.
For sure. I love Villain, and then We Are Chaos came along and I was like, man, this is collected Marilyn Manson right here. Like this is the point, you know, you're really getting to it, you know. It's really good.
Yeah.
So, sometimes I wonder, like, you know, many of the lyrics in that song kind of apply to the situation happening now.
Absolutely.
Where it's like, if you just listen to this album, you realise why what you're doing is fucking stupid. You know, it's but he's always been like that. He's almost like another one of his lines, am I Superman or superstitious, you know? And he's sort of like talking about, I think, or as far as my perspective of it, he's talking about like kind of now in his history where it's kind of like the discussion that he's had kind of becomes the reality that's happened in the world. And so this thing that's happened, and now it's like, okay, now we're about to experience what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I think wasn't Hollywood based on the Columbine that he was blamed for?
Probably projected from that.
Yeah. So I think that he is creating something out of all this together with Tim Skold, because I think he mentioned that he and Manson are making music right as we speak.
Oh, okay.
Spoiler alert, it was in the trash investigation by Rolling Stone, which the good part only got like maximum like 3 lines each out of like half an hour or an hour.
Yeah. I read so many cases of people talking like, oh, they interviewed me and they took like this one line. Yeah. And then all the people who were like, oh yeah, bad stuff, and it's like, oh, here's this whole thing. Like, 55 people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know if you know who Great Aurora is, but she spent a weekend with Manson.
Yeah.
And she spoke with them, but she only got like a line out of almost an hour, which I think is crazy. But and she called them out on her Twitter just a few days ago, which I think is amazing.
Yes,
and Manson called them out also, because the same happened to him. And then there's Tim Skold, who were very quick to call him out. And there was probably, they mentioned Paula, his ex-personal assistant. They mentioned her, but she didn't do an interview with them. They just took like a snippet of like a 2-hour interview she did with Colonel.
Yeah.
So, and she was also very quick to call them out, which I think is fantastic. So
nice to see people willing to make that statement, because obviously, I think that's the risk. There are people around him at that time when those allegations came out where they sort of very much distanced themselves from him, deleted content that was to do with him, because obviously don't want to get cancelled. You know, if you're associated with this person who's being cancelled, then they might come for you, and it's like it's not worth it. So that's a thing. But yeah, it's really great to see that.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I can understand that they're not speaking out immediately.
Yeah, for sure.
Outcome.
You got to approach it with
But
caution.
sooner or later, I guess you feel like you have to speak out on it in one way or another.
You really care for the situation, and
Yeah. And I think Paula was very quick to, talk about it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So it's sad that all of these people got like this small, like very little part.
Yeah.
But I think it's also to because they wanted to paint the narrative that he's a monster, and they only put like these lines, like selected lines in it to fit that narrative. Which to me is crazy because they've done tons of interviews with him before and profited millions of him because he's been on the covers many times.
Yeah, that's the point. They don't.
Yeah.
The media. Well, obviously, different outlets of media have different approaches, but most media outlets don't care who you are, what our relationship with you, what is the most interesting scandal. Yeah. And that's the thing. If it turns around suddenly where it's obvious by law and evidence information that these girls have lied about him, then all of a sudden I wouldn't be surprised if it turns the other way and you've got liar presented as the big thing, and you realize that the media doesn't care who it is. What is the most interesting or most likely story that's going to create feelings of shock in you? So to the media, who you are is disposable. It's how bad are you? How is what I'm interested. Which is the tragedy of media, as we go back to Michael Jackson. Yeah, spoke about and warned about. It's the same thing happening today. It's just tapping into the human desire for the fascination of the villain, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as I look at it, Yeah. Yeah. It's just heroes and villains, It's like, here's this person who's done this amazing thing. Here's this person who's done this terrible thing. Whatever it is, it's all presented on the same level of interest, the platform of celebrity, which is essentially, it goes back to Marilyn Manson. That's the point. That's the conversation. Yeah. He is living out actualization of that reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about big media outlets. I did call out Metal Hammer on them. I think it was like a week ago. I did it. But I called them out. I tagged them on my stories and everything. Because they had posted about how he was a rapist, but he was nominated for a Grammy, and that's bad, basically. So I called them out on that. And guess what? Not even an hour later, I was blocked.
Really? Mm.
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not either, but I just feel like if they see it, and I'm not the first one, they've done it to a lot of other fan accounts and people that aren't even fan accounts, just personal. But I think that they see our stories and they see that we're calling them out, but they refuse to, face the consequences, basically, of being called out.
You definitely. I don't know whether it's you specifically or the team, people around you, but you definitely focus on the research into really looking at things, from an investigative perspective, You know,
Yeah.
there's not from what I've looked from your content, there's not
Yeah.
really many people who sort of have an impact that get away with it. You know, you kind of links,
Yeah.
which is good.
I mean,
What it takes.
yeah.
Because that's the thing. It's like, you know, obviously we're looking at it kind of like from take a step back. I mean, this is just my perspective,
Yeah.
but I see it as kind of like you've got the main narrative, the main media narrative of Marilyn Manson, the agenda of user and the victims.
Yeah.
And then you have this subset of individuals who are highly passionate about him and the situation and have political perspectives around that, which make you interested in this. Then you have a select number of individuals, groups of people, pages that are providing the counter to this main narrative.
Yeah.
And those are, you know, one of the main ones I can think of is Colonel Kurtz, right? Which is a very I don't know if she's the most significant in terms of her relationship to her direct contact with Marilyn Manson and Lindsay, and also the fact that she has access to these people that are maybe, you know, I wouldn't have access to, for example. You know, so, and then you have a number of other people who are specific to do with Evan, Esme, Ashley Waters, etc. And then you have your input, which is beyond this, but specifically focused on Ashley Morgan Smith line, but also incorporates all of these other elements, and you're related to Colonel Kurtz and all of these things. And so essentially you have this sort of web of significant players in this counter narrative to the main narrative that, you know, I don't know if it's a surprise to you as well, but you are key players in this this thing. You know, it's not like just being some fan in the background. Like, this is a serious thing. And you have a serious impact on the situation. You know, obviously, with me personally, I create a lot of artwork. You know, if you look at my Instagram page, you see all that, and I've created some pieces about Marilyn Manson, which is sort of like a statement about like, I'm serious about I'm serious about these. And so here we are now, and we've had a great conversation, by the way. It's been really awesome.
I feel the same.
But, awesome. That's good. But I'm not sure what the point was I was talking about. But anyway, there's a select few of people that, you know, have really made an impact. You're one of them, and it's just amazing, you know, that the dedication of the people who are interested in Marilyn Manson have created this web, and that this is not an insignificant thing. You know, this is all contributing towards the counter narrative that people are enjoying. You know.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. There was one thing I want to talk about also, and it's again with about Ashley Morgan.
Yes.
I think she did at some point admit to somebody that she and Evan got together and wrote their statements together.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that leads to the fact that this is coordinated.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah. And it's also a bit strange, at least to me, because if you're a victim, you wouldn't even have to read off a paper, let alone make a statement. It should just come from the heart, you know.
I struggle to speak to you today because I'm not sure what words are appropriate when discussing this issue. However, if you can't hear the whole truth, you will never know true empathy, and I believe in the saying, if we have to live through it, then you should have to hear it. This past year and the massive movements such as Me Too and Time's Up have been extremely empowering and validating for survivors, but also incredibly painful. While no one had to tell me that rape was such a worldwide epidemic, to see the flood of stories so similar to my own was both freeing and soul-crushing. Waves of memories and detail came flooding into my brain every time I read the words. I froze. I thought I was the only human who experienced this, and I carried so much guilt and confusion about my response to the abuse.
My name is Esme Biancoma. I'm a domestic violence survivor and advocate. Before he succeeded in his seduction, my abuser carefully groomed me, manipulating and gaslighting me over a number of years of friendship. He knew that I was easy prey. I had neither power nor control over my life. A previous intimate relationship had stripped me of both, and so I was led from the frying pan into the fire. Initially, he was charming, intelligent, funny. He told me I was his soulmate. By the time I was living with him, he controlled every aspect of my life.
So obvious when you look at all the videos, and it's like,
Yeah.
you obviously you're saying the same thing, you know, like
Yeah.
there's describing the same experience, and then
Yeah.
there's saying the same language. There's a difference, and planning the same language is exactly what's happened. So,
Yeah.
so obvious, honestly. I seriously hope that the people who, well, I guess it's the judges at the end of the day, with the lawsuits, have not only the evidence presented, but also the capacity and awareness to look at this and see Marilyn Manson there, or Brian as he is, and then see these fucking women who are there shaking in their chair, like, oh, I don't really know what to say. You know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
anyway,
Evelyn, I guess you could say she would be a bit more prepared because she's an actress. She can just come up with whatever and act as if she would have any feelings, you know. She would be more believable, but I also think that with all these women, actually, when you study law, you do study body language as well. So these judges will probably be very quick to see through this bullshit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, human bias is present everywhere, but I do think that part of the process of becoming a judge is human training or behavioral analysis, because it's a really important role, you know, like your attention. I mean, obviously this is a civil lawsuit, you know, as opposed to a criminal thing, but I'm not so educated on the difference between those in terms of the training that you have to go through as a judge. But
no, I'm not either. It's just
I would think that it is still important for you to be someone who has been assessed as being able to understand neutrality and seriously looking at human behavior and expression. So anyway, we'll see. There's a sort of a date kind of outline now, isn't there, for the actual kind of lawsuit to go through? I think with is it Esme's lawsuit, maybe? I can't remember exactly.
I don't remember the date for her lawsuit, but there is a Jane Doe one, I believe, is set to happen somewhere in the beginning of 2023.
Yeah, that might be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. So
it'll take so long. Just so irritating because it's like, can we just get this done with now?
Yeah, I mean, these are, how many lawsuits does it have on his back?
I think it's 4, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So it's gonna take many years to do, you know, all these at this. Because I think it took almost a year for Johnny Depp to do his thing. So
I think celebrity lawsuits get sort of pushed forward.
Yeah. But about civil court, I think that the reason why they brought him to civil court is because first of all, they knew about the statute of limitations in their area. So they chose to wait for another year because I guess you could say he didn't do anything that was criminal. They knew. So it's his burden. I mean, the burden is on him to prove his innocence, rather than them having to prove that he is guilty.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they don't have any evidence. So I don't think that this would even see a criminal court to begin with. But
No.
so
The main evidence seems to be Marilyn Manson's presentation of all the reasons why the timescales are just wrong.
Yeah.
And there's so much controversy around Ashley Walters, his manager, and the situation with crashing a car and all this shit, about just her mistreatment of her funds and stuff. And it's opening a wormhole. Someone who actually has more evidence against your misbehavior than you actually have against this. Okay, you're gonna go down this route.
Yeah, but I don't remember who it was. Was it Ashley Walters crashed his car?
I think so. I'm not sure exactly. I remember the man. I feel like it was the assistant. That crashed the car. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
I think it was Walters that did it.
Yeah.
But that also indicates to me that you're not scared of him because he crashed his fucking car.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I know. It's bad. One of the main things is because obviously I don't know whether these girls did not predict the level of attention that the fans would pay to social media, where it's hold on a second, so you were commenting positively, reflecting positively about this man all these years afterwards, you claim that the tragic thing that tormented you and that you're dealing with happened all these years ago, and it's so why are you saying this the past fucking 5 years? And it's and then they suddenly start deleting the social media and deleting all these things, and it's we got you, we took these screenshots, this is what you said about this man.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know whether
they seem to forget how the internet works.
No,
you put something up there, it's there forever.
This is a failed heist, I think. Seriously, I think it's a failed criminal project. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And them deleting their social media, or several of their social media accounts.
Yeah.
And completely wiping out the Phoenix Acta website. It's just it just adds to the suspicion,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So.
Well, like we were talking about earlier, I think it's just a necessary part of the conversation of what is reasonable in terms of relationships, abuse, in terms of its relationship to the law, time frames, what an allegation is, all of these things. I think this is, unfortunately for Marilyn Manson and Johnny Depp, is a necessary part of human history. I really think it's a big thing. No one has done this before. No one has done this, create this situation before. In the current world of social media and the way media operates today, celebrity culture, or cancel culture, this is a new thing. And I think, however challenging and sad it is, this is a necessary part of that development. And if this ends up being that Marilyn Manson and Johnny Depp are vindicated, and all of these accusers are revealed for what they are, that is a statement in time that will affect future people, where you get to the point where it's okay, if there was a real situation where you were really harmed by somebody, where you were raped, sexually assaulted, whatever it is, because these are things that need to be dealt with, and I'm not undermining the pain of these situations, but if there is a real situation, these need to be dealt with seriously, But if it's anything beyond that, and it's a fabrication and just a lie to gain money, essentially, then you will be revealed for what that is.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
this is perfect, essentially,
Yeah.
in a weird way. In a weird way, a perfect tragedy.
Yeah. So,
Wrap it up.
like, sum this up. What was your conclusion of all this?
My conclusion is that we will see what happens physically in terms of evidence in the face of the law.
Yeah.
And that will be a very interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah.
My conclusion, I don't really know if I can make a conclusion.
Yeah.
I can look at this as it is and see that it is very clear to me, and it should be very clear to any reasonable individual, that the women involved in this orchestrated attack against Marilyn Manson are obviously lying, have created false evidence, have backtracked on the things that they provided, told stories that don't match with their previous stories, enough to the point where it is obvious that they are not telling the truth. And again, like I said, we will see what happens in law when they go through these lawsuits and the evidence is provided. But in terms of character, it seems incredibly obvious to me that Evan Rachel Wood, Esme Bianco, and Ashley Morgan Smith line. Ashley Walters has been quite quiet, but Ashley Morgan Smith line specifically is lying. Evan Rachel Wood is distorting the past. Esme Bianco to be jumping on a ride, which maybe she regrets. I don't know, but I don't believe that they are telling the truth. And essentially, we will see. We will see in court.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that, even though it's dreadful. But
sure, some of the hardest, some of the most important things are dreadful. Play through it, see what happens.
Yeah. So fine. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you.
And for your thoughts, opinions.
Thank you. I love talking to you. It's been great. I love talking to you again.
It's been great talking to you too.
Maybe with some other people as well. It'd be great.
Yeah.
In the future, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you, Ella.
And thank you for joining us, and to everyone else that's been watching, thank you for watching.
Don't
forget to like and subscribe.
Yes.
And we'll see you some other time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just bye.
Hello everybody. I am editing the video right now, but one thing I did forget to mention was the fact that we are still having a giveaway, which will end when we have reached 100 subscribers here on YouTube or 1,000 followers on our Instagram. So to be able to enter the giveaway, you will find all the rules down below in the description. So yeah, but thank you all so much for watching. Bye bye.